And then the third one I want to mention, and I think it's very relevant for Malaga Innovation Campus and for all of us here living in Malaga, is the intercultural aspects. So sometimes we forget the fact that culture is something that can be a great thing, but can also be a barrier in the sense that if we don't understand and respect the other person's culture, we can have some misunderstandings. So my name is Masha Tarle. I'm Croatian, and I've been living in Malaga for a year and a half now. And I'm essentially a teacher. So I always say I'm a teacher by vocation, and it's true that I do many other things now. So I'm also a consultant and an advisor, and also a coach on communication skills. But essentially, I started my career as a teacher. And funnily, I started my career in Madrid at a time when there was a great need for English teachers. And this is how it all started, my journey. I started teaching English, which is of course very important for communication, because nowadays we all speak, this is our common language. And however, quickly I realized that I wanted to do something more, that I wanted to teach communication skills. I wanted to get people to help people to communicate better, to persuade each other, and also to connect with each other. So I taught a group of students public speaking, and I really loved it. And later I moved to Brussels, where I worked as a communication manager in different organizations, different associations. And this is where I really started to work on communication training and coaching. And the reason I did that was that I noticed that there were many people who were giving presentations and talks, but somehow the audiences were not always engaged with those talks. It was often a bit of a formality, and what I wanted to do is help people speak in such a way that they would engage with others, that they would persuade, that they would move them emotionally, so that there was real communication happening and that there were connections happening as well. So this is really what inspired me to become what I am today, which is a trainer and a coach and an advisor on communication skills. So I lived in Brussels for 15 years before moving now to Malaga. And before that, I lived in Madrid. So in a way, I had many different lives, and I saw many different people and the way that they communicate in the different contexts. And it's true that the EU context, what we call the EU bubble in Brussels, is a very specific context. I like it very much, but of course it's also a context that has its difficulties. One of the positive sides of that area is that there are people from different countries, mostly European countries, but also non-European. And although, of course, we all have one European understanding of communication, and we often have common languages, and many people there speak a lot of languages, I think what this taught me was that any topic can be interesting, because in Brussels you have a lot of politics, but also a lot of policies, a lot of interest groups, a lot of companies in different sectors that come together. And what this taught me was that any topic can be interesting, any topic can be engaging. That's one thing. Another thing, that although we all think that we're in the same culture and we speak the same language, there are often differences that are still important and that help us to connect or disconnect. And another thing that it taught me is that it's very important not to have assumptions. And sometimes when we are in one bubble, we always think that the bubble is that all of us are the same in the bubble, that we all think the same, that we all have the same ideas, but it's not always the case. So in order to connect with others and to engage, we need to really understand our audience. Definitely many communication mistakes that all of us commit. So it's not like you become an expert and then you don't commit them. We are humans, so we make these mistakes, and it's very good to be aware of them so that we can avoid them. I would say the number one communication mistake is the lack of listening. And you've probably heard this before, that listening is something that we don't do enough. We don't really, so often, especially as a public speaking trainer and coach, people come to me because they want to speak better, they want to be more influential, more persuasive. But I always say that it always starts with listening. So you will not be a good communicator, a good speaker, if you do not know how to listen to others. This is really the key. And of course, there's lots of sub skills. I could talk about this for hours, but listening is something that you can learn. So that's the number one communication mistake. Number two, and I think this is more and more common now because we are all in our own worlds with our mobiles or our own interests and work, that we don't understand context and we don't know how to explain context. So often we speak and we say things and we don't provide enough context. Also in communication, we talk about framing. So sometimes we come and we start speaking about something, but we do not provide the right frame, the right context for our message. We don't explain things. I believe that a long time ago, we used to be good storytellers. We humans, we know how to tell stories. Here in Spain, they have a wonderful tradition of telling stories as well. But we have forgotten how to tell stories. And one of the good things about being able to tell a story is that you can set the context where something is happening, who are the people involved, who's the hero, what is he going to do or she going to do, and what is kind of the background. And all of this context setting is something that we forget. And then the third one I want to mention, and I think it's very relevant for Malaga Innovation Campus and for all of us here living in Malaga, is the intercultural aspects. So sometimes we forget the fact that culture is something that can be a great thing, but can also be a barrier in the sense that if we don't understand and respect the other person's culture, we can have some misunderstandings. And this is something that happens to all of us. I mean, I used to live for 10 years in Madrid, so I thought when I came now to Malaga that I knew everything about Spain. I speak the language well. I've lived in Spain, so, you know, almost being Spanish. But then I realized that I don't know that many things, in the sense that sometimes I say messages or speak in a way or communicate in a way that sometimes other people find maybe a little bit too direct, because of course I do have a different culture and different way of saying things. So it's really important for us to understand, for example, here in Spain, how does the Spanish culture communicate? What do they like? What do they dislike? And so these cultural communication standards are really important. I've been here in Malaga for about a year and a half, and I have to admit that, like many of us here, I still live a little bit in my own bubble, and I think we all live with our clients sometimes that come from our countries of origin or where we used to live. In this case, I still work a lot with Brussels. I travel a lot to Brussels and some other places as well. So what I want to do here is I really want to get steeped in the culture here and hopefully reach more Spanish clients as well. I would love to work with Spanish companies and Spanish managers and really help them in their communication, in public speaking. And when it comes to the Malaga Innovation Center, what I want to do is have some open courses where we practice persuasive influence communication and pitching, and not only in person, but also online, because I know that a lot of the people here are working online. They have a lot of meetings. They're sometimes working far away from their teams. So this is really a good skill to have. How do you communicate and influence when you are in a remote setting? So this is a course that will surely come up very soon that I would like to organize. And then I also do a lot of coaching with individual managers. So I recently had a client who was a CEO of a tech startup, a fintech startup. And this is very interesting because what I do is really help the CEOs to speak in front of their potential investors and also their team, and make their messages very clear, very direct, very to the point and persuasive. So this is something that I'm going to continue developing here in Malaga, and I'm very excited about it.